And I can think of a time when I've experienced a value tension related to technological stewardship, especially when it comes to a kind of purposeful with focused beneficiaries of the technology, but inclusive also with broad beneficiaries. And during the pandemic, we had to pivot from this game approach that we had, that people sat around tables physically. And we created a technology that allowed people to connect in small groups on Zoom or whatever video conferencing platform. And it worked quite nicely, but it called Conversations Matter. We did it hundreds of times during the pandemic. But as we widened the number of people who were able to participate, both as prospective facilitators and participants themselves, we started to get a lot of questions about who is this for and who should it be for. And there were many questions about people with learning disabilities or on the autism spectrum, and how could we adapt the technology for their needs. And it wasn't something that I had thought of before. And so, for instance, we hired an expert to help bring an outside perspective, an educator with a lot of experience with people with learning disabilities and people on the spectrum. And she gave us an analysis and said, some of this stuff has got too many words and not enough pictures. And it actually wasn't hard to adapt the technology to use pictures and words together in some of the elements that people were choosing, so that it was helping us then implement tech stewardship principles of widening approaches and both in the technology that we were using and the approaches we used, and expanding involvement, to use an educator and bring an educator's voice who has experience with people with learning disabilities that we hadn't done before, because it wasn't part of our initial thinking in our target audience. And we're much better for it with a better technology and a better solution.
So a tension that I often feel when trying to practice technology stewardship is simply knowing if I'm doing or standing up for the right things in any moment, because standing up in a professional setting often feels pretty risky when we have relationships or maybe our careers on the line. It's always a lot easier to sort of like sit back, do nothing, or just wait and see. But what I have learned, or what I'm really coming to realize about this kind of work, is that it's really less about this choice to sort of like stand up or sit back, and it is much more about the continuous development and practice of more deliberate and just more contextualized or better informed values. It's hard work to do, but the impact we're seeking is really just a side effect of that work. And it's really kind of like unfair to each of us to sort of like judge that work moment to moment. And I find that perspective quite freeing. Like, incremental is fine. Patience is a virtue, because the gravity of like the existing economic and organizational social structures that we're working within are always going to kind of like pull down or narrow those efforts. But we can't really expect anything different. And what really matters is we just do this inner work to expand the boundaries of our thinking and the thinking that we inherit, and that, of course, we don't do that work alone.
The tension I often feel in tech stewardship is between my need to take action, to be purposeful in what I do, but also to ensure that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm hearing the right voices, that I've not forgotten to hear somebody's voice, that I'm not biased in my approaches, which we all have bias. We all recognize that we all have bias. And so trying to find that balance between being stuck in constantly analyzing and actually moving towards taking action and trying things and learning from those things, and recognizing that by doing, I can actually learn more to work out where I'm missing things and try to improve. And so it's finding that balance between those that is a constant tension in playing in the tech stewardship space.